Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. It's time!
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the No Bros All Manos podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Phoebus, coming at you on this Monday, Martin Luther King Day, January 16th, 2023. And man, we've got a lot to talk about today. There was big news over the weekend out of the UFC. We've got some huge fight that went on in ONE FC over the weekend. We've got fights announced, just a whole bunch of stuff going on all across the combat sports world over the weekend. But, I think the first thing that we got to talk about, and this is huge news, Jon Jones versus Ciryl Gane is booked for UFC 285 March 4th. It is official. How did we get here? Saturday, we saw pictures come out early. They were scrolling across the outside of T-Mobile Arena, kind of pictures of Jon Jones standing next to Ciryl Gane, kind of like the fight was going to happen. We had Ciryl Gane, of course, was in the corner of Imavov this past weekend. He tweets out, Jon Jones, where you at in March? So this whole story was already starting to build early on in the day Saturday. And then it culminates when at the post-fight press conference over the weekend, Dana White announces Ciryl Gane versus Jon Jones for the heavyweight title. And to add to that, Francis Ngannou is now a free agent and has not re-signed with the UFC. He is free to do whatever he wants. The world is his oyster at this point. But, so how did we get here? Like I said, Francis had become a free agent. Dana said that the UFC had offered him more money than any heavyweight has ever been paid before. And what we can go back and look at is we can kind of reference that. We know that Brock Lesnar got paid around $8 million for his UFC 200 fight. So this would have been more than that. How much more, we don't know. Could be $50 more, for all we really know. But anyways, Dana said that they offered him that much, and he turned it down. Do I think that Francis turned it down on the basis of he just didn't want to fight for the company? Maybe. That's definitely a possibility. I think it also could be a combination of they weren't going to pay him enough. Like, even though it was going to be some exorbitant amount of money, I don't think that it was probably enough to do to fight. And also, I think that, he just felt slighted by the UFC, just for previous treatment. And just, he's not really been a company guy to the UFC in their eyes, in the sense that he fights once a year, but that's kind of normal for heavyweight title fights. But anyways, I digress. The UFC is just kind of trying to play it out and make this narrative of like, how could Francis turn this down? And it's just like, clearly it was aren't going to pay him enough. He needed more money. And I really applaud Francis for sticking to his guns and sticking with his morals. This guy is an amazing person, great character, great morals, extremely hardworking. His story is riveting to everybody. Escaping from Africa, it took 7 attempts to escape Africa and make it to France. This guy was training only 3 years before he made it in UFC. He's got the biggest punching power we've ever seen in the sport. Born puncher. Life molded him into this Herculean level of a power puncher. And, he's coming off surgery. So does that devalue him for what he looks to do next? But, he just got so many options. Let's go down what those options could be. Could it be ONE FC? He doesn't really have much competition in my eyes over there. He could do a matchup with Anatoly Malakin when he unifies the belt if he wins. Just don't think that's in the cards, just based on the level of or the amount of competition that he would have. Bellator, I'm going to say no, because I don't think that they're going to have enough money to dish at him. But Scott Coker is known to do some crazy things and will throw the bag at some people. Will he do it? Not too sure. I don't know if they've got more competition for him. Could they do a Fedor fight, even though Fedor is supposed to be retiring after this Ryan Bader fight coming up? I don't know. Maybe, but not in the likelihood. I think the front runner is PFL, just because of all the money that they are dishing out right now, trying to build a brand, trying to increase their audience. It was even seen over the weekend or earlier in the week, maybe 2 weeks ago. There was pictures that had come out. You could see Francis Ngannou, family member or relative, sitting in the background, kind of keenly with a PFL shirt on. I don't think that that was uh, unintentional, to say that in the slightest. Um, they've got PFL just signed Jake Paul to this kind of super fight league or super fight contract. You know, I could see Francis, doing one of those and getting on one of those super fight cards. Being the main event to a Jake Paul fight. Um, you know, boxing is also a likely. It could also be a very likely situation. He's got the Fury fight that he was in the ring with Fury after one of his fights. Deontay Wilder, the perennial power of the heavyweight boxing right now. You name it, it sells right now for Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou is going to make a shitload of money. Let's just be very frank about it. He is about to make a shitload of money. Now, could this just be a one-off depending on where he goes? Could he go do boxing and then decide, you know what, I am going to go back to the UFC and take back my belt that I'm being the lineal champ essentially, since he's now relinquished the title and walked away. I don't know. This Francis is just, I'm so happy for Francis that he is about to make the money he is. I am so happy. I'm upset though that we aren't, we could potentially have another one of those what if fights. Um, you know, we got the what ifs of, Silva versus GSP. What if of Couture versus Fedor. There's been fights in the past that we just never got to see for whatever reason, and I think that it kind of sucks that this one's being added to that list, or potentially added to this list of Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones. But to any point, we now have Cyril Gane taking on Jon Jones for the heavyweight belt. Jon Jones returning after almost 1,200 days off since his last fight. Um, like I said, it was tweets were coming out about a picture of it being announced. It was going across the outside of the T-Mobile Arena, and for the poor guy that leaked it, that's just something he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. Deal with that consequence going forward. This matchup is awesome. I think this is the toughest matchup for Jon Jones, especially on his initial return, and in the heavyweight division as well. Cyril Gane is a very, very good striker. His foot movement is awesome. He bounces. He's light on his feet. He uses his kicks very well. He's very good about hand trapping. He's not the biggest power puncher, but he uses volume. He uses volume, and he applies the pressure and keeps his opponents generally on the back foot. Now, Jon traditionally has been a very single strike, high variance kind of guy, where he'll throw left hand body punch, right hand to the head, left low kick, right high kick, where it's just every angle is different from both sides of the body, as well as his distance management, which he has just this enormous reach on everybody. But at these heavyweights, these guys are bigger. I think that, well, I'll have to check the reach. I should have jotted it down, but he's fighting a bigger guy here. And it'll be interesting to see how Jon handles this new weight that he's put on. He's put on a bunch of weight to move up to this class. Of course, we think he did it the right way. He took a lot of time, built up the weight properly. But how is he going to carry that? How is it going to affect his game going forward? Will his wrestling be the same? Will his striking style still be the same? Will he still use this high variance strike? Will his power have gone up a little bit, putting on this extra weight? We don't know. Jon is the biggest question right now, in my opinion, in this fight. Jon is the question. His previous fights, coming into this fight, his last one was against Reyes, which I thought he lost, in my opinion. Then he had before that he had a close fight with Thiago Santos, and Santos blew out his knees early in the fight. Before that, it was a fight with Anthony Smith. Wasn't really the most entertaining or like peak Jon Jones performance that we have seen. But at the end of the day, when I look at this Cyril Gane versus Jon Jones fight, I'm still picking Jon Jones. How can you bet against the GOAT? I just don't. I can't bet against the GOAT. But for the rest of the division, which is interesting, Stipe is now also called for the winner of this fight, and that leaves then I think we then have Curtis Blades sitting out there, and Sergey Pavlovich is also needing a fight. So I think that what's going to happen is you're going to get Stipe Miocic is going to definitely get the winner of John Jones versus Shogun, and then you're going to have a title eliminator between Sergey Pavlovich and Curtis Blades to see who gets the crack after that. I think that is totally possible. I think that that's what the UFC wants to do. I think that's what the UFC should do. Um, and this heavyweight division, now that Francis is gone and John is coming in, it's gotten better, but it's also digressed in the fact that it's lost its champion. It's lost its biggest star. I mean, this is crazy. The UFC, for the first time since I think 2011 or 2012, does not have either a light heavyweight or a heavyweight champion. This is crazy. This is madness. We need to get this sorted out, and we're getting it sorted out now on what is this? March 4th at UFC 285. Man, I just a lot going on in the heavyweight division. But good for you, Francis. Go out there, make your money. And I hope you come back and stake your claim at the heavyweight title, because I'm going to tell you right now, if Francis goes out, say he boxes once or twice, then is like, I do want to go back to the UFC. He's getting the first title shot. No if and or nors or buts about it. He will get an immediate title shot. I don't care if he lost twice in boxing. Even better so if he wins some MMA fights in the time being and then comes back to the UFC, because he will have raised his stock value and reached to different audiences that maybe we're not watching the UFC, and we're watching these other promotions or watching these other fighting styles, and they will now come to the UFC, and Francis will be able to get the money that he should have already been getting paid anyways. Frankly, he should have been getting paid the big boy dollars anyways. When you're a heavyweight, when you are the champion at heavyweight, and you defeat the people that he has, beating Stipe, beating Curtis Blades, beating Cyril Gane, he deserves the big money, and I'm glad he's going to get it. But I hope we get to see him come back to the octagon and get another title shot and reclaim himself as the throne holder. Moving on. Over the weekend, we saw this guy go out and officially, I think, put his foot in the ground and really cement his claim as he is coming up. This man is Umar Nurmagomedov. He's coming on. He's now 16-0. But let's just look back at his history. This kid is not fighting cans. He has fought only two guys with losing records in his career. Those records were 1-3 and 2-5, and those were his first and fourth fight, respectively. And then after his fifth fight, the level of competition jumps up. I mean, his fifth fight in, he fought Shuda Yamauchi, who had 24 pro fights. He was 16-8, and he got a unanimous decision victory. No fighter after that has less than double win to loss ratio. So every fighter after that has 24, let's just use an example, 24 wins to 12 losses. Their wins double their losses. So these are experienced competition guys going forward. His kicks are dynamic. His question mark kick is impressive. He uses the front leg to range find. His good combos off the jab. His wrestling is excellent. His submissions are great. He doesn't get hit. He gets hit less than 0.5 times per minute in a fight, but yet lands over 4 strikes in a minute. That's a huge, crazy differential. He's undefeated. This past weekend he just beat Rony Barcelos with a straight power left hand off of a knee attempt. Beautiful KO in the first round. And it just leaves you a question, like, what is next for this guy? How high can this guy really go? He was ranked number 11 coming into the weekend, and he got his KO win. If we go down the rankings, you've got the champion Aljamain, Sean O'Malley at number 1, Petr Yan 2, Merab Dvalishvili number 3, Marlon Vera 4, Corey Sandhagen 5, Rob Font 6, Dominic Cruz 7, Yadong Song at 8, Pedro Munoz at 9, Ricky Simone at 10, and then you had Umar. I'm thinking a fight with Song Yadong at number 8. I think that's a great fight for Umar. I think that it will be a really good proving testing ground. This kid Umar is a problem, man. I mean, you don't get to see. We'll talk more about overall strikers come from this region, but he is. I think he's got the best striking definitively out of the Nurmagomedov kind of clique or clan. I think he's got the best striking of them all. His kicks are just so dynamic for compared to anybody else. I mean, Usman a little bit so, but Habib, it's night and day better. His wrestling is amazing. I mean, he controls guys on the ground. He doesn't really use like Islam style to where it's kind of the slow roll and forcing of a position. It's more on Habib style, or it's even more so a little bit of the fusion of the two, to where he does like to hold you down when he gets you down, but then he does implement heavy ground and pound, which we've seen before in his fights. This kid is fresh into the UFC, ranked number 11, and he's beating everybody. And I think that a fight with Yadong Song, who's coming off the loss to Corey Sandhagen, he gave Corey Sandhagen a tough fight. Was never out of that fight, but Corey kind of did his thing on that fight. I think a fight with number 8 Yadong Song would be excellent. Uh, can Umar handle the pressure, the power punch of Yadong Song? Will he implement his grappling? Because Yadong Song's shown pretty good takedown defense in his career. Um, and personally, I think Umar can beat him. I think it will be a title holder by this time, probably. I would say by 2024, probably first quarter, Umar Nurmagomedov will be fighting for a title. You just cannot. If you are landing 4 strikes and getting hit by less than 1 per minute in your fights, you will win the fight. Generally, I would say 99% of the time you are going to win the fight. And this kid Umar, I mean, he's just so dynamic, man. It's just what it is. That's what stands out to me. It's just the broad spectrum of striking ability that he has, mixed in with the high level of grappling that we know that guys out of that Dagestan camp come from. That he can be champion, and I think this weight class is so deep and everything like that. Look at any of the guys above him. I think are potential champions. I just think that Umar has probably the widest, range of skills out of any of these guys. Piotr Yan, it's close. I think that would be a really tough fight. People ask, who's the answer to Merab Davishvili? Umar. Umar can beat that guy. Umar can beat that guy. I think he's got enough wrestling ability to prevent the takedowns from happening. I think he uses his striking as a rangefinder to keep the distance and can land the better shots than Davishvili could to him. But let's move him up a little bit slower. Let's give him number 8 Yadong Song first, and then we'll see where he goes from there. Either way, this kid Umar, he's going to be a problem for this division. Go back and watch his KO from over the weekend. I mean, it was just a thing of beauty. It was in under a round. I mean, he's dusting people. He's dusting guys off. But yeah, speaking of good striking, ONE FC had the lightweight kickboxing title fight go down over the weekend, and they have a new pound for pound champion over there in Chingiz Alisov as he defeats Superman in the second round via KO. And oh my gosh, Chingiz Alisov is a hammer. God, he is so fast. He is so powerful. I mean, what he did, it's remarkable. You have to really give him credit. You have to let's think about this. Chingiz Alisov is of the Caucasus region, so that area of Eastern Europe, Western Russia, right there in that mountain region. He went into Thailand because this ONE FC card from over the weekend, one on Prime 6, went down in Bangkok, Thailand. He went into Bangkok, fought in Thai kickboxing, not Muay Thai, but kickboxing, and he fought a Thai, and he dominated it. It wasn't even close the entire fight, honestly. He won the first round, and then the second round was just one-way fucking traffic. His kicks are incredible. His question mark kick might be one of the fastest question mark kicks I've ever seen. He used that in the first round very early on, and it kind of set the tone like, oh, this guy is coming to fight. I mean, he was doubling up on the lead leg head kicks. He gets his head off the center line just so well on his combinations. He was throwing first, landing first, and then out of exiting his combinations, he was throwing a leg kick, or he would start a combination with the leg kick. Um, you know, it was just incredible to see how diverse and how impressive, how high level his striking was. The head was always off of line, combinations all the time, never singular strikes, and if they were just leg kicks. But then he was usually following those up quickly in quick succession. His footwork was incredible, either all the way in, all the way out, off the center line. Like I said, it was just impressive stuff. It was just impressive stuff. He won the first round pretty clearly, and then the second round started, and the first knockdown came within the first 30 seconds of the second round. Um, the combination that he used to get the first knockdown. Listen to this: Superman punch with the right, right elbow, left hook, hand trap with the left, and then a power right hand straight down the middle, split, landing flush, and that's it. Sat Superman down for the first time. Now Superman gets up, and 10 seconds later, the next one happens. This combination: jab uppercut, jab power right hand, splitting the guard, sitting Superman down a second time. Now Superman gets back up, and the kill shot happens shortly after. Superman gets up. Chingiz is literally up on the referee. He has to push him back to just get some space. He is ready to kill this man. Starts the fight. Joe starts the fight back up. Left head kick bounces off the high guard. Straight right follow up. Split the guard of Superman. That landed flush. Right left right hook combination from in close. Superman creates a little bit of space, and Chingiz just unloads this missile of a right hand, and it crumbles Superman straight down on top of himself and new. Impressive stuff. Impressive stuff. God damn it, he is fucking good. I mean, he beat the brakes off Superman in this round. He beat the brakes off Superman in this round. They have the 3 knockdown rule, so that's the rule set that they go by. But man, it almost felt like this fight could have been stopped after the first knockdown. I mean, the first knockdown was pretty bad, and you could tell he was rocked. He got back up, of course, answered the call, got back up after the second one, answered the call, but that third one really shut the lights out. He crumbled on that one. Let's talk about Superman, just coming into this fight, just to put in perspective how monumental this is for Chingiz to defeat Superman. Superman coming in this fight, he had his last loss was in 2018. He lost to Murat Grigorian, but since then he's rallied off 12 straight wins. The last 3 of those wins was maybe probably one of the best 3-fight win streaks in kickboxing history. And if he would have beat Chingiz, it's over with. Greatest 4-fight win streak of all time. His last 3 opponents were Sidachai, Gregorio Petrosian, and then finally he avenged his loss to Murat Grigorian. That was his last fight, and it was just impressive. That stretch is impressive. This kid's got over 100+ wins on his career. I mean, just an absolute legend of the game. And Chingiz destroyed him inside 2 rounds. In the post fight, Chingiz says, he wants to stick with kickboxing and is not really looking to do a potential Muay Thai fight with the Muay Thai lightweight champion Tawanchai, which I think that fight just gives me so much excitement if they were to announce that fight ever. I mean, oh my God, that fight would be amazing to see. Oh my God, that fight would be amazing to see. But anyways, Chingiz said he's not doing Muay Thai right now. He wants to stick to the boxing gloves. It just, the guys from this region, let's just go into this. The guys from this Caucasus, this mountain region between, Eastern Europe and Southwest Russia, these former Soviet countries, this area is producing hammers right now. Hammers, and, we always know that the wrestling is good coming out of that region. We always know they have good wrestling, the Georgians, the Iranians, even more so somewhat. The Dagestanis for sure. All the countries ending in stan. Guys like Chingiz, of course. Guys like Zayev in the UFC, Ilya Taporia, your Giga Chikadzes, your Umar Nurmagomedovs, the other guys coming out of Dagestan, all these guys from those former Soviet country areas, their striking is now catching up to how good that the wrestling has traditionally been, and it is scary for their competition. I mean, just how quickly it's caught up too is the other amazing part. I mean, we always knew that the wrestling was good at coming out of that area, but now that the striking is starting to match up, I mean, they're beating the Thais now, as you just saw. They're beating the Thais. I mean, Rafael Fiziev was down at Tiger Muay Thai coaching that team for a little bit. When a Thai is not even when you're a foreigner in Thailand coaching the Thais on Muay Thai, you're clearly a good striker. I mean, it's just so impressive to see how quickly the striking is caught up in this part of the region. And they're just making noise across the fight world in multiple promotions. I mentioned Fiziev. I should mention, let's roll into it. The UFC has announced that Rafael Fiziev will be taking on Justin Gaethje on the UFC London card, UFC 286 on March 18th. And man, that fight is going to be goddamn fireworks. I mean, this is a true fight fans fight to make, and it is now happening. Prayers have been answered. What an opportunity for Fiziev to, put his name out there to the more casual fans that know Justin Gaethje, know his amazing fights, and now he's going to fight him and get his name out there to the rest of the world. And I cannot wait to see it. I just don't see how this fight doesn't deliver. But let me just be very frank. I think this is a terrible matchup stylistically for Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, we've all seen him. He always goes out on his shield. Always a blood and guts fighter. Dog of all dogs. Man of full violence. He is the real deal. But Fiziev is one of the best strikers in the UFC, if not the best. Justin Gaethje, great leg kicks. He's not going to out leg kick Fiziev. Justin Gaethje, big power. I don't think he has more power than Rafael Fiziev. Justin Gaethje, decent striker. He definitely is not a better striker than Rafael Fiziev. Justin Gaethje takes a lot of damage. Fiziev lands a lot of shots. Okay? Justin Gaethje, been prone to the one area of real weakness where he does tend to crumble up on body shots. Fiziev has got some of the best body kicks in all of MMA. Justin Gaethje, been known to strike with kind of reckless abandon and throw wild hooking, looping shots. Fiziev doesn't break and doesn't do that. He fights with technique, and he just goes out there on a mission to destroy you and do it with great technique, and that's what usually happens. Justin Gaethje doesn't use wrestling, but he can do it. Fiziev doesn't get taken down. This is just an all-around terrible matchup for Justin Gaethje, and I honestly think that Fiziev is going to KO him in this fight, if I'm being very honest. I don't see how this fight goes the distance either way. Justin Gaethje, for sure, definitely could KO Rafael Fiziev, but if I'm just being honest, I think that Fiziev just has so much better technique, a better arsenal of attacks, will stay more patient, will stay calmer, and not allow this to turn into a brawl of just sock and bop and robots. I think that, if anything, Fiziev is going to turn Justin Gaethje's head into a sock and bop and robot and just bully him around this ring by the end for as long as it lasts. And it just kind of just, God, this fight is just amazing. This fight is amazing. I cannot wait to happen. It's just incredible to see the guys coming out of this region, just how good they are now. Just how good. Their striking is amazing. The wrestling is always there. And, when you see these guys just kind of mix in the ability to have great high-level striking or with some wrestling in some cases, or sufficient enough to where they can either prevent a takedown or get a takedown when the timing is right. These guys are just always going to be a problem. These guys with Z's and V's in their last name, man, keep your eye out, because if you're fighting against one, you're probably fighting a hammer. You're probably fighting a hammer. And audit them or get audited, because they're coming. They're coming. I should also mention UFC London card that Justin Gaethje and Fiziev are fighting on, they are the co-main event. The main event has been announced for this fight card, and it is going to be Leon Edwards taking on Kamaru Usman in their trilogy match. This goes down in London, like I said, in Leon's backyard. UFC 286, March 18th. Um, what do we say about this? Early initial thoughts. I think that Kamaru is at a terrible disadvantage in this fight. And I could easily see Leon successfully defending the belt. Usman, of course, is coming off a hand surgery. We just recently saw, as close as 2-3 weeks ago, photos of him still in a cast in his hand. Less than 6 months ago at this point, he was brutally head kick knocked out, as we know, in their rematch in their second fight. By come fight time, it'll be 7 months that he's been out, coming off that brutal knockout. I don't know if Kamaru's had the time to make the adjustments needed to level up in his striking. I mean, Leon was going to lose that fight until the head kick happened, but he definitely had moments throughout that fight. The first round, he clearly won. He got a takedown, took the back of Usman, and, potentially could have choked him out. He was outstriking Usman in the first round. He was outstriking Usman every time they were on the feet. And then once Usman was able to get Leon down, he was beating him up, landing ground and pound, controlling him, et cetera, till the head kick knockout happened. I just think that Usman has not had the time to train, and I don't think that hand is going to be ready. I don't think he's made the adjustments striking wise necessary to kind of bridge that gap. Looking at the betting lines, Usman is opening up it as a minus 375 favorite on BetMGM, while Leon is plus 290 respectively. If I'm a bettor and a gambling man, I'm hammering $100 on that plus 290 Leon bet. That just seems disrespectful at this point. I don't know how the odds makers have it that wide. I'm sure that this line will close up, come closer to fight time. We'll get more into the X's and O's of this fight as the fight day comes closer. But man, I think Leon's going to win this fight. I think it's too soon for Usman. And yeah, I think it's going to be an and still. Odds on the Justin Gaethje versus Fiziev fight have been coming out, and as we talked about earlier, John Jones versus Ciryl Gane, those odds are out, and he is a near pick'em. It is a pick'em on all sites, minus 110 versus to minus 110 on BetMGM. Pretty much everywhere has it at minus money, minus 100, minus 110 across the board for both fighters. Another fight I've got to talk about, though, that what is on that March 4th card that we talked about. Geoff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov has been rescheduled to this date. It was supposed to be this last weekend. Anyways, here we are now. The odds on that fight, Shavkat minus 435 on DraftKings, Geoff Neal plus 350. That is also on the March 4th card. We'll get into that fight a little bit more, so closer to March 4th. Let me just tell you, I'm picking Shavkat. Just going to put that out there. We'll talk more about that fight as we get closer. But man, March is shaping up to be a damn good month. Let me just put it that way. March is going to be one of the best months in UFC history. Let me just put it that way. If none of these fights fall through and everybody shows up and weighs in, makes weight, and we get through, I cannot wait for it. I cannot wait for March. My mouth is foaming for that month. I cannot wait. But let's jump into our final topic of the day. And this is probably, a story that you've heard ad nauseum at this point, a story that everybody's talking about, a story that is probably all the takes have been said, and I'm probably just going to be regurgitating it, but I've got to say something about it. I think that it is imperative that I say something about that. And let's talk about Dana White. Let's talk about the facts first. As we all probably know by now, Dana White was caught on video after getting slapped by his wife on New Year's Eve. He was slapped first, and then he retaliated and slapped her twice back. And it was caught on video. This was at a club or a bar in Mexico on New Year's Eve evening. Dana's come out after the fact, addressed the media twice now. In the first one, he took full responsibility, did not condone his actions, was telling people, do not support me. What I did was wrong. It has never happened. Will never happen again. His wife has come out and said the same thing. This is not like him. This has never happened before, and this will never happen again. Um, you know, and I applaud Dana, for facing the media, taking on questions. Some of them softballs, let's be honest. Some of them fastballs, kind of skirted around him. Uh, you know, I applaud him for taking on the media and not condoning his actions and telling people not to support him and that he was wrong. I support him for that. Great job, Dana. That's what you need to do. But that's where my support ends, and that's where the good graces of this story for me end. Um, you know, what is his punishment? According to Dana, it is I will have to live with it for the rest of my life and always be known as a person who committed domestic violence. That's what his punishment should be, and that's it. That is bullshit. Frankly, that is bullshit. So that's a non-punishment. And I just want to what message does this send to his employees, especially the female ones? What message does this send to his female fighters? What message does it send to his family? What message does it send to his coworkers? What message does it send to the employees inside Endeavor? This is a terrible message that, he can be caught on video retaliating or regardless, putting his hands on his wife. He was caught on video doing this and is not going to face a single ounce of repercussion. And that is a problem. I just want you to think of any major sports promotion, NFL, NBA, all of them. If anybody in the executive position was seen slapping their wife or significant other on camera, they would be fired immediately. And this would be a news cycle story that would not end for a long time. And that is not the case here. ESPN has yet to come out and say anything. Endeavor has yet to come out and say anything. The UFC's brass has yet to come out and say anything. And that is shameful. Shameful. They should be ashamed of themselves. If Roger Goodell was seen on camera slapping his wife, he would be gone. He would be gone. This is insane to me how nothing is being said. How nothing is being said. And this is just, being pushed to the wayside and hopefully forgotten about. And it kind of adds to this overarching narrative that goes on here in America where, the elite, the billionaires, the super rich, they never have to own up and face the medicine beyond them even sometimes not even have to saying that they did anything wrong. Dana at least did that, but nothing else. And that is generally the case for the super wealthy in this country. And that's sad. And that's sad. He's sitting there asking the media, what should my punishment be? Well, God damn it, that's not how it works. You don't ask people what your punishment should be. Your bosses should be handing down a punishment. Your bosses should be telling you, take 3 to 6 months off. Your bosses should be telling you to push and advocate for these domestic violence charities or revamping the code of conduct to where if this ever happens to anybody ever again, they are gone. They are done for good. You should be putting out a message that this cannot happen and showing what the punishment and repercussions for your actions would be, just like any other person would have to face in this country, just like anybody else would. And it is shameful that none of the bosses for any of these big organizations are having to do that. And I think, Dana should have to step away for some time. 3 to 6 months, whatever, a year, fine. And Dana was talking about how, if he were to be gone, that it would hurt the fighters. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. Luke Thomas made this point on his podcast that it was like, what other billionaire organization do you know that can't be run without the boss? Jeff Bezos walked away from Amazon and it's still going fine. The idea that he could not do his job or that somebody else could not do his job is just asinine. Now, granted, if it was, the early days, the tough days, where he was flying all over the place, making deals and signing all that, sure, he needed to be that guy probably. He probably did. I will give you that. But now, he's even said he could have walked away in 2016. He could walk away and nobody would notice. And you have to remember, eventually, all of these guys are going to be gone, and there's going to be somebody new. Everybody lives and everybody dies. I'm sorry. That's just the fact of the matter. and this company will move on without him. Now, whether that's now or whether that's down the road, I don't know. But the idea that the UFC could not operate without Dana White is, frankly, it's narcissistic of Dana to think that. It's wrong. It's wrong. He is wrong. And Dana White has to face some sort of more repercussions. What those are exactly, I think he should definitely have to walk away for a little bit. I definitely think that there should be a revamping of the code of conduct, a reimplementation. I definitely think that there should be money given to charities of domestic violence victims. I think that there should be some mandatory counseling for Dana White and his wife included, because she is a part of this. Let's not forget, she definitely did hit him first, and he chose to retaliate. And there's another thing, too. It is not hard to not retaliate. It is not hard. It is not hard. You know, wrist control, bear hug, or just straight up walk away. Walk away. There's multiple outlets. You do not have to put your hands on your wife if she puts her hands on you first. It does not have to happen. And it's insane to me. It is just utterly insane that the bosses of these companies are not saying anything. It is just utterly, utterly insane to me. You know, Dana White will just have to live with it for the rest of his life. Yeah, no shit. No shit. God. All right. Anyways, that's going to do it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to get back to you shortly. We're going to do another episode soon. We're going to talk about the fights coming up. You know, please like, share, and subscribe to the video. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you want to talk about. Let me know what your thoughts on everything are. Just give me some general criticism. I need it. All the feedback helps. Like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys next time. Peace.